All right, so obviously we had a big run up today on across the board. So it was that was definitely a hell of a run. Let's see, where did we start? Yeah, that's right, after this consolidation. So yeah, and it even waited for us, which was interesting. But yeah, so we opened up and we cranked up. There were a couple things I remember talking about on stream. Probably, yeah, I guess it was here before I left. So one of the things I was watching was this hourly supply here. And we got the close right at it, just underneath it, whatever you want to call it. Technically right underneath it. And I remember saying, like, I don't know if I trusted it. It just seemed to like there's too much momentum. So, and it was, it obviously continued up. The it did get above the 40-25, but again, this is kind of what I mean, it's not surprising, I guess, but this is what I didn't want to see right away, right? Like, it would have been nice if we'd gotten up further. Instead, all we did is we kind of got back to this general area again and stopped, right? We kind of hit that ceiling, although I mean, don't get me wrong, we are above, we actually made it into the zone. I wanted to look at SPY though real quick. Because SPY, yeah, I guess no, that's not what I was looking at. Yeah, these are zones that I've had for a minute. Oh, what did I just do? There we go. Zones for a minute, and you can see this trend line is probably more realistic, I guess you could say, or it's probably a better trend line to pay attention to, because SPY doesn't change like the SPX, on Oanda does. So it should be there, right? That's all-time high. What's that? Yeah, so it looks like what we did is this is a 4-hour chart. We did go up and tag a zone up here. Interesting enough, this daily zone is old as fuck, which is really interesting that we went up and tagged it perfectly. I wouldn't put too much into it, except just the fact that it's not surprising there's a zone here. I want to get rid of this. But my point, I guess what I wanted to point out before we go back to the other chart is on a 1 hour or 4 hour, you can see how we kind of, we pushed up, we came back and basically like retested this trend line. So it will be interesting tomorrow to see what we do. If we're, whether you're watching SPY or the Oanda futures, right? I mean, I would say, like, this is the zone you want to see, right? Like, you want to see us get above all this shit here, or else it's just going to be another failure. So in my opinion, I'm not sold completely on it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll play calls on the way up. It's like friggin' Netflix, right? Played out nicely. I didn't actually play that one, but looking back on it, it was kind of funny to see it play out exactly as I might have thought it would. Not that it helps if I don't play it, but yeah. So looking at this, what I want to see tomorrow, it's pretty straightforward here. And if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask them, because I think, going into earnings, I want to look and see what is going to report tomorrow, and what's coming up for the rest of the week with data and whatnot. So that's what I figure we'll do tonight. And if you guys have any trades you want to go over, feel free to mention it. But what I'm looking for tomorrow is I want to see if we're actually going to get up over this. I want to see like a daily close over 40-25. Obviously, if we get over, we start to make moves to the upside, I'm happy to play it up near this 40-45. That's the EM. Let me pull this up real quick. So I just want to double check these. I did them kind of quick this morning. Should my phone's off? Yeah, so the expected move 40-45, spot 4. So that's on SPX. SPX is trading like $2 more right now than this Oanda pair. So it's like $2.5 or 2.5 points. So keep that in mind. But anyways, this, as we approach this expected move, it will depend, it'll be interesting to see if we're getting like a massive push with momentum, or if we're just going to kind of chop around here and wait for maybe Microsoft. I think Microsoft reports tomorrow night. let's look at that.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, tomorrow's the 24th, yeah. So tomorrow, right, tomorrow after close. So that'll be a big one for sure. Definitely one to watch for. Let's do these expected moves actually. Or no, you know what? I did do this. Yeah, 252. Yeah, 252.35, right? Okay, so these are right, the +1, -1. Did I do the 2? I think I did, right? We did do that. Yeah. -2 is 216. Yeah. Okay, so these are actually right. So 228.1 is the -1 deviation, 216 is the -2 deviation, and then to the upside we have 252.35 and 264.50. So definitely keep an eye on these when they report. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of excited to see where we go. I mean, if we're gonna rock up, I mean, look, as far as like long-term buy, right? If we're gonna move up and this is truly a bottom or short-term bottom, then I have no doubt that like earnings may push us up, probably up near this daily zone up here, right? 4150 or some crazy shit. Like it'll probably rock us up if we get some big earnings moves. But I do expect it to pull back down. I expect a lot of these tickers, like if it's truly the bottom, to come back down and to settle in, right? And that's when we can say, okay, if you missed the bottom to buy in, right? To a lot of these companies, the ones that you like, then there'll be opportunities. So I doubt that it's the bottom, but we'll see. It might be the short-term bottom for the next could be 6 months. There's a lot of bullish hype. I'm just don't forget we have the Fed coming up on the 2nd. So FOMC to put us back in place. One of the spots I am watching is 40.65. It's the first, I mean, this is daily supply here. But it's not the main supply, right? You can see how we pushed up, the next day goes right up. Same with this one, this ticker or this day, this wick here ran all the way up, pretty much touched the daily supply up here. What it is though is the weekly as well, right? So it's the top right here of this weekly supply that we're in that we have yet to get out of, right? So this green, this big green candle, even though the weekly supply up here is really the max, or I shouldn't say the max, but that's the one that I'm watching the most, right? That's 40.38 or 41.38. The reality is that until we get a weekly close above this 40.65, we're just stuck in a weekly supply zone and we're just kind of bouncing around, right? Doesn't matter what the trend line is, doesn't matter about any of it. So that's definitely one to watch. Let's see here. All right, I got to pull up a list though, but what I wanted to, I guess, just point out. Yeah, that's right. So this is it's a little weird here. These pink dotted lines are 5 minutes. Like there's this 5 minute supply zone like tucked in here, and the 15-minute gets even bigger. So it's all based off this one candle here. So when you see situations like that, like I like to mark them, but then I still pay attention to what's going on, inside of it, because it's just too big. It's absolutely too big. I want to see if there's an hourly supply back here. What I'm looking for here, so you guys aren't wondering what the fuck I'm doing. I'm looking for hourly supply, right? So I see this candle here. All right. This bullish candle here, it's above price. I know that we made it past this one here. Now, the thing is, it's inside of this big ass candle, right? Inside this big candle right here, which would technically be an hourly supply, unless, right, it wicks up into, the body of another candle, or if, you know what I mean? If at some point it broke through into, but closed, inside of or below the body of another bullish candle on the hourly. So that's what I want to look for here. Which I think we determined it does, right here. Yeah, so it does, right? So that would make that next one. I don't know why this isn't marked then. Because it will matter anyways what we're going to see coming up here. Going into tomorrow, not this zone per se, obviously, I mean, at some point we might make it up to it if things get crazy. And I still have shorts on, guys, so it's not, but you got to manage your risk appropriately. Like if you're, if you're getting smoked trying to short things, just, take some time off. I mean, I didn't even mind missing a lot of, I mean, I had some trades on, but I missed a ton of what was happening. What am I trying to say earlier? Earlier, later in the day, like kind of when I was done, I could have continued to trade, but I had other shit going on. Had some stuff going on at the house I was just frustrated with, and it was a good time to just not worry about the market too much. So this hourly supply, as we approach, we want to watch what's going on here, because this definitely stands out, right? This stands out like a sore thumb. This will be a decent spot to get a signal from. As we, let's say if we do push up, it wouldn't surprise me to see a pullback. And that's the other thing. And here's the EM right up inside of it. So not surprising, I guess. Before we touch that though, we do have, I'm going to get rid of this. I doubt this is correct. I'll get rid of this now, since we've gone up through it and back down. I'm not going to get rid of these pink dotted lines because I don't think, yeah, no, I will. Okay, good. All right. So the reason is because we got this little 5-minute candle here to close above. So it seemed too big to be considered something worth paying attention to. But, and look, at the end of the day, these white zones are probably going to be the best thing going for us in this type of situation where we're cruising this, we're seeing this type of momentum. The reason what did I say? I said, or I think Danny asked me about going short, right? As SPX was kind of breaking down towards here. And what I said to him is, I said, I don't trust it. And the reason was because of the NASDAQ, right? We'll go back to the SPX and finish that. But the NASDAQ never broke the bottom of my zone, my regular zone, right? Forget the yellow here, right? I'm talking about the white right here. It literally wicked down and held it. And that's, I can't say that happened first, right? This is at 2 p.m. Yeah, it may have already bounced here from between 2 and 3, but either way, it didn't matter. I knew that it was still inside this zone. And it's like, right now, everything's kind of going hand in hand. It's hard to say. I mean, tech was leading yesterday. It seems to, have led. I don't know if it led as much today, honestly. But I say yesterday, Friday, obviously, but Friday tech was leading. It was blatantly obvious. So, anyways, keep an eye on both of those, because if one if one's not breaking down in this type of environment, the other one's not going to break down either. You can get a quick scalp out of this, but to think we're going to retrace, back down into some of these more normal levels, was not happening today, at least. So, yeah, going into tomorrow, you can always check out the 4-hour. You know what? I shouldn't have deleted that, I guess. Yeah. So what did we do? We did. Yeah. So technically we did test. I know I just deleted that. That was probably dumb. Where's the other? Huh. I thought I had another yellow. So keep in mind that this is 4-hour. So if you can, ignore the blue, but just look at the bullish candle here, right? This is your 4-hour supply, and you can see how we went up. We got a close inside of it from this morning's candle. Now, again, this is the future, so it closes different than SPY, right? The 4-hour candles close an hour later than SPY, and SPX closes on the half hour, right? Because it opens at 9:30 Eastern time. So they're all a little different. So just keep that in mind. But no matter what, like it's why I stick to this chart. You pick whatever you're using. But using this chart, we did get, we closed above, but then we closed the day. And this was at 5 p.m. right, Eastern time. We closed underneath it. And then obviously the next, you can kind of see it here. So we're actually kind of getting confirmation here where this next candle just kind of chopped around here, but it's holding underneath this 4-hour supply. And then here's this candle. So it'll be interesting to wake up tomorrow and see where we're at regarding, and again, we're talking about the yellow lines here, right? This is the 4-hour supply off of this guy. You know, I'm not even going to do it. I don't want to have a big yellow zone here, but just keep in mind, this is the supply, this is the resistance, right? It makes up this big zone. So if we continue to hold underneath this, if we see more 4-hour closes underneath, I would prefer to see a 4-hour close below this 4014 spot 3. That would be great. You know, these zones are built off of a 4-hour chart. That's just normally what I view to find them. So it's always nice to see a 4-hour close, you know, outside of it, although we got it just barely here and it still ended up closing back down in. But anyways, keep in mind supply zone here on the 4-hour. On the daily, yeah, this is kind of tough because the daily here ran way the fuck up. So it's still, we still technically haven't touched the supply zone. You could say that this is resistance right here, but it's really not, because we had the wick that ran way up. So I would rather just go off the 4-hour at this point, right? If we get a push up, remember 4065. I mean, I would watch this zone. This is the next zone up is 4054 to 4068 spot 8, right? So right inside of that is that daily level, the bottom of that zone. And to see a rejection there, that's if we make it over the expected move at 4045. I don't know. A lot of me thinks we're going to come back down. So, and I think that'll be the chop that we see. So I don't know. And then tomorrow night with Microsoft, we get to start it all off. All right. So let me let's talk about some earnings real quick. Like I said, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Or if you have something you want to look at specifically, we can do that. But I'm going to find the one of the earnings charts here. All right, so I can share the whole screen with you, but it's going to end up being wide. So why don't I not do that? What I'll do is, oh, you know what? I don't know if I posted the earnings. I'm going to put it in the main chat anyways, what I'm looking at. Okay, James did post something. All right, you know what? That's fine too. Yeah, he did post the earnings whispered. Yeah, I didn't post a calendar this week either. What a fucking idiot. All right, so there is obviously there's a little bit more on the one that I just posted, but either way, what we're looking, all I care about here are the main ones. So tomorrow before we open though, we do have 3M. That'll be interesting. We have Lockheed Martin. That'll be worth checking out. A lot of defense names. So what I would watch for, actually, let's take a look at this real quick. Sorry, hold on. LMT, because this is one of Monitive's that he always talks about. You know, if it gets below a certain price, and I forget what that price is, but I'm sure I could ask him and find out. But I know, I think it's below 400 he buys. The don't quote me on that though, but yeah, I'm definitely looking to see what Lockheed Martin is going to do as far as if they drop hard. You know, if they come down, you know, quite a bit, obviously, I would say 400. There is this. Let's try to go to let's do a weekly chart. Yeah, I think that was, when was that? 2020. So for what it's worth, I think we were watching this at some point last year. Yeah, it had to have been in this period of time when it was dropping. Anyways, if it gets down, right, 400 is right about where my cursor's at. That would be a great spot to buy. There's weekly demand right here. So I'll show you that. I would say it's probably, let's see here. So when I'm looking for weekly demand, I'm coming down, right? I look underneath price, we come over and we look down, right? Obviously we're looking from candle to candle, looking for a bearish candle. So here's a bearish candle. I look where it closes and I can look to the left, right? So I go like one candle, two, and I see, okay, this candle closed inside of, right? It wicked into and closed inside of the body of this candle. So now this one, right? I'm looking below it to the left, right? So I know that these are all candles that came, consecutively after, but because we're looking for a demand zone, we can jump right across, and what we see is this candle here. Now they look like they closed very similarly. So let's see, I'm hovering over it, and then I'm looking at the close price that's up here. So everybody should have a version of that. So we have 386.46 and 386.26. So technically this one closed lower, right? So this is going to be our weekly demand. So you want whatever one closes lower, right? Because you're looking for a demand zone, you're looking for the one that closed the lowest below price. So, and again, if this had closed higher than this one, we would have chose this one. Or if they'd closed at the same, level, which we do see, we would choose the oldest candle, right? Going back in time. So, and the reason we know it's nothing else is because when we look where this wicks down to, we look to the next, we look to the left, we bump into a bullish candle here. And that's so that because it's not in the body of another bearish candle, another red candle, we can say, okay, we know that that's where we stop, right? So anyway, same, this candle, we know closed a little bit lower, so we can snap a line on it. So we do it from the body of the candle, keep that in mind. And that's obviously right on the zone. So anyways, yeah, I want to watch where this thing drops. If it drops, I mean, maybe it runs, I don't really know. I'm not expecting it one way or the other, but I will say I'm probably going to throw an alert here just to see if it, actually, no, I'm going to go to 4-hour chart. So it actually gives me the alert pre-market. Keep that in mind with TradingView. If you put an alert on the daily chart or weekly or anything, anything daily and up, it will only, it assumes normal trading hours, and that's when you'll get the alert right at open. So right at open, even if it's way underneath your alert, it'll trigger it and go off. So anyways, 3M's another one to watch. I mean, these are all things that we could trade. Raytheon, right? Halliburton was the other one that we were looking at previously. And then, yeah, so Tuesday it's Microsoft. I guess that's really the big one there. There is Capital One. Let's see, Visa. Yeah, Visa and MasterCard are Thursday. Yeah. So anyways, so that's what we have to look forward to tomorrow. We'll do another class tomorrow. I'm going to focus it more on entries, I think, as well as there's a couple of questions people have asked. So I'm going to try to focus on some of that. But tonight's just a general kind of overview, but I figured we might as well talk if anybody had any questions, whatever the case. Yeah. So Wednesday after the close is Tesla. Obviously keep an eye on that. Oh, I'm sorry. Wednesday before open. So pre-market, we do have Boeing. I don't know if anybody trades AT&T. That's pretty much probably dead. But yeah, Boeing's going to be the big one for me. I'm seeing Boeing. What else is on there? If anybody know, I mean, if I'm missing one, feel free to call it out. I don't think I am right now. I'm looking at both of these. Yeah, so I guess it's just Boeing. Yeah, so then Tesla after hours, obviously that's going to be the big one. IBM is another one probably worth paying attention to. United Rentals, I believe, was decent. Yeah, I don't know. There may be some it'll be interesting to see where some of these other, non-tech related names start to drive us, if it's going to help, kind of keep everything up, or if that's, if we're going to start to see some issues there as well. And then Thursday we have MasterCard, Comcast. What's the other one? Valero, that'll be interesting. Southwest and America. Yeah, okay, a lot of the airlines. So Southwest, American Airlines, JetBlue, and Alaska Air are all Thursday. So if you got any plays on that, what we could wait and see is what Boeing does. And then Wednesday before cash close, I may do something with some of the other ones. They're not going to act the same necessarily, but it will give us an idea of what the airlines may be seeing. So yeah, then Visa, Intel. What else? Those are really the only ones that I think I care about right there on Thursday afternoon. And then Friday morning, Chevron, American Express. Well, maybe that's it. That's all I'm seeing. Yeah. See, have Chevron on there. Yeah, Chevron, American Express. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, I guess that is. Let's look. Yeah. So LMT definitely want to check out. What was the other one? Was it Northrop Grumman? Was that the one that we? Oops. Jesus. Yeah, NOC was, I think, was one of the ones we were talking about. Look at it, the dip on that. So that one's not until Thursday morning. From what I'm seeing, yeah, 26. Right, that's Thursday. Yeah. But with the drop, you guys, that man, I don't know. That I like calls on this, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask a couple people and see, and maybe do a little bit of research to see why this hasn't bounced so much. There's a reason behind it, but overall, I mean, as far as the charts go, that's a great looking it's a great looking retracement back down. You would have daily demand down here. So for some reason, we do get a drop before earnings, right? Before it would be, yeah, before Wednesday, cash close. Look for, if you get it moved down to 430, that would be a perfect, dip into daily demand based off this bearish candle right here. It's not the only one, but again, it's definitely what stands out here. So some of these names are decent swings potentially, right? And I mean, if you can either buy shares or, look for longer dated contracts. I mean, you don't have to go out crazy amounts, but at least it may be a play for anything that anybody wants something a little bit safer. Or if you just, if you like any of these names. The defense names they're not always profitable, and what's happening in the background. I mean, unless war like picks up, then obviously they'll get some attention, but there's definitely probably a reason why this is the way it is here. But at the end of the day, this is a pretty big pullback from not too long ago. I mean, when was that? That was just the beginning of January. I mean, all the highs were fucking October there, but let's see how big of a drop is that. So yeah, you're talking 20% off the highs, before it bounced. Obviously, at this point, it's about 17 years, almost 18% off the highs. So to me, like I see this and I'm like, hell, even if it went back up to 500, I mean, if it drops to 430, I am happy to get into, maybe some 450 calls and just put it out for, maybe March, but really like potentially June, somewhere in there would be great, and then I'll have to look at the contracts, but the idea is, let it rip, right? So all it needs to do, let's say it comes up and fills this gap, to 500. I mean, that's a $50, it'd be $50 in the money, right? That's at that point, you might as well just collect on them. And you got to watch out for liquidity and all that shit. So there are other ways to trade this, but let's see here. It's interesting that it gapped over that supply. Yeah, anyways, enough on that one. Anything else? If anybody wants me to look at one, call it out now before I jump back. But the other one I wanted to look at was, fuck, I lost it. Shit, I just said it too. What the fuck? Where'd it go?
Is it ASML?
No, but we can look at that one. I was just looking at that. It's yeah, ASML, right? Yeah. Okay. When do they report? What's that? So that's Wednesday as well. Wednesday pre-market. Interesting. Yeah, they got a big pump up today. These zones, I don't know if I like these zones, man. I haven't, that's so funny. I haven't, these are old. Going back a ways. What was that? Yeah. That would have been back in this area. Yeah, so what are they doing here? Let's see. So you do have, they're coming up on a daily supply. I don't know what the deal with this is. You know, I'm just gonna delete these and we can start fresh. Yeah, there is daily supply coming up here. Right there. So we are approaching that. Then the next one up. So when I see this, right, I already know this stands out. What I look for is where it closes. Obviously, and then I'm looking to the left here. Let me get off that. So where it closed, this is just a wick, right? And that's where it's like, okay, this closed above this can, you know, where it's closed above this candle here. So I know that that has nothing to do with it. And then I look over to the left and we hit, you know, a bearish candle and work our way up. The next one is going to be this candle, right? So I look at where I look to and when I say I looked, you know, well, so when I say like we're looking to the left and it just hits a bearish candle, there's nothing here, right? Like there's more bullish candles you know, in line. So like when I come up to this one here, I look to the left. Yeah, I see this bearish candle. Okay. And I see there's, you know, these, but then I see this one right here. Okay. And I know that that's consecutively the next bullish candle, right? If it was way up here and these were all red, if this one was red, I would say, okay, this one stands by itself, right? It's because you kind of have to think of it as just you know, it's the way you work your way back through the charts, I guess. So now if you snap lines on that, you know, I can see that price, you know, we have a zone here, price, you know, gap down, obviously gap down, you know, opened here, looks like it dropped some more, caught some buyers, pushed up, closed here, gap down again overnight, right? Pushed down, but buyers were there, pushed us up, closed here. It gapped up, you know, up just underneath this, pushed down, you know, fucked around a little bit, boom, closed still inside of the supply, right? So then we ended up opening way up here, right? Which opened, pushed down, immediately dropped hard. So you know there's still sellers in this candle, right? And then this one obviously opened, pushed back up and tested the supply zone again. And then you saw it all fall down. So like, again, I know that this candle opened up here, but it doesn't, you can't represent anything with that. There's no, it needs to be a bullish candle. So you could jump to a smaller time frame and, you know, probably find like a 4 hour or 1 hour zone somewhere up inside of here, or even back in this area. And at that point, you know, you could say, okay, that's, you know, that's what's going on there. But as far as the dailies go, to get a daily signal, this is our candle. And the reason that none of these matter to me is because I look consecutively, I go up and there is a bullish candle above price, right? So I know that that's immediately when I stop my search. It's like when we go from this one, we close here. Let me blow this up so this makes sense, right? Let's say we don't know the zones here yet, right? We check this one, we see it closes here. So the next candle is bearish. Next one after that is bullish, but it closes lower, right? So we're looking for supply. So you're always looking above. And that's why I know consecutively that these don't matter at all. I'm always looking for the next candle above. The reason that this one makes sense here is because when I'm looking back in the candles and above price, right? I go to this candle, all of this is already above price. So as soon as I bump into another candle, I say, okay, this is the next supply zone. Now, obviously, this candle does not wick up into the body of any of these. And therefore, you know, this is its own supply zone. But if you're looking for the next one up, you would go back in time above price. If it dropped below price and did, you know, kind of a shape like this, you would just move across all the way until you hit something. And that's why in this scenario, right, it's like, okay, there are bullish candles down here, but again, it's lower than price. So it really doesn't matter at all, right? We're always looking for above current price and the price that you're checking. So like if I'm looking at this candle, I see where it closed. I'm always looking, okay, back in time and up, right? If I'm looking for a demand zone, You know, let's say like here, let's say, okay, I know this is a demand zone. If I'm looking for the next one, I'm looking back in time and down, right? So if it's like, okay, this is back in time and up, but it makes no difference. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys and when you're looking at them, and then you kind of want to trace your way down. So I won't get too crazy on that, but yeah, are you in any of this? Is anybody interested in ASML? Anybody else watching that? The one that I was looking at, I still kind of lost my train of thought there, but or not train of thought, but it wasn't Dollar General, it was it's something like that. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. I think it was United Rentals. So let's look at that real quick. I don't know what their ticker is, but URI. Yeah. Okay. So that was one. This is something that I have not looked at this one in a while, but yeah, stupid not to. The I want to make sure, right? Yeah. Hey, where's my little dinosaur they always show? Supposed to have a dinosaur back there. Look at this thing. United Rentals making all-time, well, not all, almost all-time highs. Fucking crazy. So they do have earnings coming up. Definitely keep an eye on this. I would be surprised if they miss, honestly, although it's hard to say. I don't know enough about the company per se. I imagine there's a few people on Twitter paying attention to it. This is definitely one worth watching though. So I'm gonna just put an alert above and below to try and remember. Because this thing could run, right? I mean, it's almost at $400. I mean, if it broke above and made new highs, I mean, you could see it run up to like 420, 450. There's no telling like where it could move to. So obviously a move down would be okay as well, depending on what the earnings looked like to one of these, moving averages. I would rather see it like looking on a weekly. You do have a little weekly zone stuffed inside of here for what it's worth. These are obviously very choppy, but what did we do? Yeah, we got a weekly close above, didn't we? So on the weekly, like this would have been, this again, we're always looking when we're looking at supply, we're looking at bullish candles, right? So we would have had that would have been the top of our zone, right? This would have been our weekly supply zone, which you could see we pushed up under, closed underneath. We didn't quite test it. And then what happens? We gap up into it, right? And that week played out and it actually closed above. So, and again, you got to wait for a closing So like this week hasn't closed yet, so it doesn't really matter. And, it wouldn't have counted. It doesn't matter because this one actually closed above. So yeah, by, enough that it does matter. I mean, it's a pretty tight squeeze, but I mean, if I was in this, I'd be happy as hell. Like if I was holding this from a while back, these are some names that I think, we want to be, especially if we are bottoming. Obviously this is not bottoming. What am I doing? Why am I deleting it? But there are going to be things that are going to be worth getting into that will, kind of eventually folks will move out of tickers like this, right? It may not happen right away, but rentals are up. I'm sure every time I look around, somebody's using like the commercial side of United Rentals, I'm sure is big. I don't know what not commercial, but not residential, but anyways, what the regular side of it is, the business side of the rentals, you're constantly seeing like mail trucks and any shipping, anybody using shipping, using fucking Ryder or United Rentals or any other trucks like that. So anyways, one to keep in mind. I'm going to keep alerts on it. What else should we look at? And I will say a positive, like you don't want to chase per se, but if this thing's, again, if depending on what the earnings come out as, right, and they're looking for, right, when is that? It's after hours. Okay, so that's after hours on Wednesday. So that's going to be with Tesla, right? So that'll be one to think of as Tesla. I may grab a couple calls on this just to see. I got to talk to somebody tomorrow on Twitter. I got to touch base with Mr. Disruptor there and see if him or his group has any insight on it. Because this could be big, right? This could blow off. And again, options on these, even though I'm sure they're jacked up right now, you go out a little bit in time. I mean, if it makes a 20-30 point move, like that's going to move those calls, right? And same to the downside. If people are thinking, hey, it's going to crash. I mean, if it moved from 392 down to this 100 MA, at 326, that's a huge move, right? If it does that in a period of like a week or two, say the market, gets funky and rolls over, and you can see how it was actually resisting a bit here. So that's one for sure. Let's take a look at Tesla. I know everybody's watching that for sure. Maybe we can do it on a blank. I don't want to do it on a blank, but this thing, another one that just did its, the market was doing what it wanted. We got this push up, closed right at this fucking hourly supply. But it didn't matter. This was the same one, the same that no, not the same time actually. This was 9 a.m. Anyways, didn't matter, right? Pulled back, caught the bounce and rolled up. One of the things to watch for is this 9 EMA on the 1 hour as well. You can even look at it on the daily when something is trending up. Obviously, like here it pulled back, but this was all this was pre-market. Wow, or this happened right I suppose this would probably be open. But anyways, once it's this far extended, I mean, you can obviously get in it and run it up, but it's not going to roll. It's not necessarily rolling over until you see this break. So, and even then it's not a guarantee, but here it went to this hourly zone and popped up, and I didn't have any up there. It did run up to the next the OG zone, right? And that's one of the big things that, if you're not sure how to play these during earnings, but you want to kind of catch a move, either, obviously sitting out is a smart idea. You don't want to chase, but if you can have the discipline to take a small position, right? A smaller size, even if it's just one call, or a share or two, whatever, whatever works for you, you can do that. And then just play, watch these zones. I mean, if you get a breakout of the zone, if your plan is to buy in as it breaks out, right, which is more confirmation, you want your stop to be pretty tight underneath, right? So that it's always a trade-off. So like you're gonna get more confirmation breaking out, but the thing is, if it pulls back, your stop like be reasonable, especially with options. You're gonna want to stop out as it comes back into the zone, even if all it does is come down, bounce somewhere here, and keep going. That's kind of the risk. The flip side of that is if you buy here where you get a close on the hourly, it is underneath this hourly supply, or it's right at it, but it is inside of the zone here. So when this thing dips, maybe you wait for it to push back into the zone, you grab it there. And again, the risk that you have here is that it hasn't broken out of the zone yet. So, but that's what I'm going to look for going into the rest of the week, right? I do want to see, it's not just Tesla. I want to see what else is going to interact here with this, where this expected move is. Keep in mind, right? And I know this may sound nuts to some people, but you do want to keep this in mind. The monthly demand, right, that we broke, which was amazing that we did break it. Those are the daily zones. That's right. So, interesting. Anyways, I guess I didn't have the orange there. Anyway, so my point here is that you see how this the orange lines, right? This here was I guess I just didn't have it on, but this should be here and be technically be like orange, right? I'm going to delete it here in a minute. But the point is we closed underneath and we are currently still well within a retest. Now, with that said, it's a monthly, it takes all month. We are kind of coming up though, right? I mean, we're on the 3rd week of the month, going into the 4th week. Well, I don't know what week exactly, but we're going into the end of the month, obviously, right? We have like 8 days left now. So not a lot left, but if this thing pushes up, I would definitely, it's not a coincidence to me, right? Or it's not surprising that the weekly expected move is, within fucking pennies of where the monthly demand was. Because what we do see on candles, we've seen this on the hourly, anybody that's been here for a while, we'll see candle like an hourly close below. We'll see a big hourly push where it's like, holy shit, it's going to the moon. But all it does is it stays within that original demand zone, and then it rejects and fall and comes back down. So just keep in mind that is like, this is not, I mean, intraday you can buy and play it up to this. Yeah, let me get rid of that. You guys see that anyways. And these zones are in, they're in the chat. They're in the Tesla chart. They're in the charts tab. They're in a few spots. So all that is available to you here, but the expected move for sure, I would watch out playing it to the north, to the upside here. Now, if it breaks through that and kind of gets above this zone, it's a bigger zone than usual, but there's a reason for that, right? I mean, it's where the levels are at. You could continue to play it up, or if you're holding calls thinking it's going to keep going, watch out for the rejection though, somewhere in here. It can obviously push up further and still close the month back inside where, still be inside of that zone, which could still be a retest. And next month we see, maybe more downside. Doesn't mean that it'll make new lows even. It just means that the way that, it's still, if it's just a retest on the monthly, the next month could easily still close red, right? And close a little bit lower. It wouldn't have to be new lows though for this bear market per se. So I'm going to watch this 145.57 for a rejection, obviously up to 147. And if we do get a test up here and it starts to break back down, depending on what happens, we'll see what happens pre-market. Obviously a short on Tesla would look, has a lot of potential here. You are shorting a beast, but we do see this shit happen, right? So it could end up being a nice short back down to, I would say back down to the 130, this range. What is this? 133.83 to 135.30. For sure. And, if something crazy does happen and you see this thing, if the market's really tanking and Tesla goes with it, I wholeheartedly expect it to get back below the, this 129.35, right? That's kind of the target overall that I've been watching. But with that said, we did get, this would have been the weekly retest. And so far, this thing's just been blasting to the north. So take that with a grain of salt. Any shorts that I still have left on Tesla are fucking smashed. So but again, it is what it is. Made tons of money on that thing on the way down. But I'm not gonna, I'm not just discounting it completely. If I see a short starting to set up here, you bet your ass I will be short on this thing quick as can be, because it's definitely, you can see how it kind of stalled out here, bounced, right? I mean, we're approaching weekly expected move and this, this monthly level. I don't know. It'll take Microsoft beating as well as some of these other names this week to, I think, to really push us through. I don't know about other car companies reporting. Someone will have to turn me on to that if they know. Somebody can post that in the chat if needed. So the other big one that was running, I want to say was Apple today, right? Apple was a fucking monster. But again, it went zone to zone, right? Well, it really went zone through this zone up to here, but then came back and held it. So interesting that we got above that expected move. These are correct. I'd updated those this morning, and here we are back underneath it. So, and we're back underneath that trend line for what it's worth. I will say the trend line is whatever. We did pop through it first. This is the first time I've seen, a close. I guess on the daily it didn't though, right? Yeah. So technically on the daily it did not close above it. Anyways, whatever the case. Watch out though for if it does pop up, watch this 142, right at 141.93. We'll know pretty quick if it's gonna get above it. Gonna keep moving for some reason, or if we're most likely gonna trail back down. And I would say look for 139, if not all the way down to this 137.50 range for sure. What else? Anything else you guys want to take a look at? Because if not, I'll wrap it up. Thoughts on this post? Yeah, so no, I'm reading it. Yeah. So anyways, it says with Apple, with today's rally, the market leader is now set up to collapse. Apple completed an impulse up for a C wave of a flat correction at the 143.32 high. So what was the high before? That was, he's just saying that was the high, right? Okay, yeah, because that didn't really line up with anything previously. I mean, it lines up with some stuff, kind of. It also filled the gap here, guys. That is something to keep in mind. We have a gap here for what it's worth. This is on the 1 hour now, not the daily, but you do see the gap down. We did fill that to a T, right? For what it's worth. So yeah, this should result in a third of a wave, or this should result in a third of a third wave decline. Okay, so basically it's saying out of a 3-wave decline, this should result in the third. First targeting the 106 to 110 range, but ultimately the 100 to 85. Yeah, so 106 to 110 is definitely, I mean, that's a rip down, but at the same time, it was something that's definitely an area to be watchful for. So that would put us down, basically where I stopped zoning. And that is where the wall is. So if you see this gap up that happened, let me zoom in a little bit here. Right. So this is what back in, this is 2020. Yeah. This was when everything got fucking wild. But July 2020, this is when we had boom, boom. I mean, Apple just exploded. Obviously it consolidated a little bit, but this was a big move. This kind of like sealed the deal looking back. In hindsight, this was a key player, or a key move from a key player. So yeah, that would put us down inside of this range. There's lots to fill down here for gaps, if you believe in that. I mean, I do think gaps try to get filled, although I know like Apple has a lot, certain tickers have a lot of gaps, but there's a big one down here for sure. So for what it's worth, it could definitely head that way. So yeah, watch what I mean, here's what I think, right? I don't think anything's changed as far as the market. I think that earnings will help steer the way in, a little bit, but I also look at the market and I say, like, look, there's nothing that has changed, and we still have super high interest rates that I just don't see being absorbed without any real hiccup in the economy. I mean, maybe jobs stay strong, maybe that's the one deciding factor that throws us off, but everything, and I'm not a macro specialist, obviously, but everything that I see on the charts and everything that I see, that kind of in my gut from the macro that I do know, and I ingest, and kind of process, says that we have another leg down. And in order for that to happen on, the S&P, Apple's going to have to come down with it. All these names are going to have to make another leg down. I mean, I don't know how far Apple has to drop. I would say I always thought 100 was well within the range. Let's look at the what was it, the monthly, I think. Yeah, this is a good example of it. We have all this shit going on here, right? This is your monthly demand. The last 108, basically 109, you could say, right, is going to be your support of that. The thing is, like, I could see us dipping below this, possibly getting down. I mean, the next one down is, you'd think it would be this guy here, but if you look where the wick is that right? Yeah, actually, because I'd have to do this, but I would say that is probably, it's not going to be it. Yeah, so you're gonna have this as a demand zone, and then this guy here. Yeah, maybe this is its own. Anyway, so this is 70, right? $70 basically to come down and touch this. That's a hell of a stretch, but I could see it coming down and kind of, affecting this whole 108. And this is a monthly zone, so it could easily dip, down to like 95 or something, get bought up with, quickly, and then pop right back up. That looked like left shoulder and head. Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is, right? I mean, the whole market's kind of looked like this, in my opinion. I mean, definitely with Apple, where it had this big push with all this consolidation. I mean, I remember trading this thinking it was going to roll over. Yeah. But I mean, that's the reason these patterns exist, because it is probability, right? Like it's kind of like it goes to how the market reacts. You have a big push up, consolidates. A lot of times it pulls back. then you get that second wave, right? And it is similar to the, you know, the Elliott wave theories. I mean, they all kind of go together, right? And it's trying to make sense of price action, which and I think the wave theories are legitimate to a degree. I don't know how, I don't know. I don't discount them at all, right? When people talk about it, especially on the bigger scales, because I think you see market sentiment kind of swing. The only thing that I will say is that we also know how influenced / manipulated the markets really are. So it's hard to kind of like balance the two of those, right? That like, it's almost like it's predestined to have a certain shape to it. But we also know that there's institutions that have enough funds to make the market go a certain way. And if we know that they haven't, if we know that it's a possibility, the chances of that not happening is just so slim, right? So anyways, but yeah, wave theory wise, I think, look, I'm still at this point where intraday I'll trade up and down. The risk to reward is to the downside, in my opinion, here, until we get like a solid, and I'm looking at this as the whole market, even until we get a solid, move above a base, maybe by the end of this week, if we are still up, like let's say Apple's above 142, the S&P, is up around 40-50, right? Or SPX, whatever, somewhere up in here. And then we open next week and, and we don't immediately like fall off a cliff. I could see going into FOMC, like, okay, maybe something happens, but I don't know. Keep in mind, guys, next Wednesday, right, on the 1st, that's going to be a wild ride. And then CPI is going to be another one. Let's take a look at this. Where'd you go? There you are. Damn it, it always pulls up all the countries. It's so annoying. I save just the US and then it fucking bookmark doesn't care. All right. CPI. Where's that? Right. Shit, it's not going out that far. Anyways, I'd have to look at a different calendar for the exact date, but I think it should be the yeah, right. We're gonna have PMI first in February. Yeah, we should have PMI first, and then yeah, so it must be a couple weeks, or not a couple weeks, but farther in than what my what this site wants to go to right now. So it must be like the 9th then. Doesn't it come out every Thursday, no matter what? So it's probably gonna be like 9th February. Anyways, doesn't all right. Also, I've seen everyone on Twitter posting SPX chart that it closed above a downtrend. Does that mean clear skies above potentially? Or is there a chance to close back below and reverse course? Yeah, no, there's always, yes. I mean, we're definitely looking bullish, right? But the big but is that we still have a few earnings to really kick ass with, or that could kick ass, and we have FOMC. I don't know. I honestly could see us, if we chopped around in this general area, I could see FOMC coming out and the Fed not making any like rash decision. If we hit the moon, right? Let's say SPX by the time next Monday rolls around is up near 4,200. I guarantee Powell comes out and says something that smashes it down. Like, I don't even care. It doesn't matter what they've said up till this point. Like, they're watching the market. They don't want to see a V-shaped recovery. Because it makes sense. In the end, it's not going to help inflation. I don't think it will. I have a lot of questions about inflation. Anyways, the numbers, but yeah. So basically, yeah. That's the thing. FinTwit too doesn't always really represent. It's interesting. Everybody's bullish on FinTwit, and I get it. It's there's been a crazy run. Just keep in mind that this has happened so fast, right? This happened last week, and it happened, after a clear grind up for a while. We had this huge pullback very fast. I would say that the trend line matters less than the main levels. And to me, when I look at the daily, I see that we're still, well, this isn't the real zone, but I see that we're still underneath like this 40-65 area. That's going to be the real test. And I mean, even on the weekly, guys, if we get our push up to sorry, this is going to look all choppy, but this zone right here, this is the main weekly supply. This is 4138 on Owanda, at least up to 4237. Here, let's look at SPX and I'll tell you where it's at on that too, because it is coming up. Yeah, a couple key levels here, right? So so hold on, I might have these. Nope, not on this one. All right, so anyways, let's I'm just going to get rid of these. So this is the thing to keep in mind. This is SPX spot, right? So all things kind of matter here. We're into the supply, but look what we did the last couple of weeks, right? We pushed up to it, we dropped, we pushed up, we closed underneath, we actually closed bearish. We obviously had a big rally from down here, right? Not surprising though, because look where the weekly demand is, right? That's your weekly demand. So what did we do? We are caught in between these two zones, right? This is our range as far as SPX spot goes, and it looks a little bit different on the Owanda chart, but it really doesn't matter which one that you're looking at, because you're going to be able, like intraday, you're going to find that we'll push a little bit higher than this range, pull back down. But my thing is, until I see a weekly close, I mean, really above, and like I said, this was 40-65 on my charts, 40-71 here. They represent two different things, but look at how the level works, right? This makes sense to me. Like this is the top of the supply zone here, and on the SPX 500 USD, I think that is the supply level, right? It's just, it's skewed a little bit because the price, the candles do look different because the SPX spot is just missing so much data, but it is what it is, right? For what it's worth, if we need to close over the top of the zone, okay, on a weekly closing basis, and if we close underneath it again, I mean, this screams bearish to me. It would not surprise me at all to see, more of a push up, maybe it doesn't even get that far. And then this week, be it Microsoft or Tesla or some type of catalyst, honestly, it doesn't even matter so much about what it is. It's just, my biggest question is, how far up do we go before a catalyst kicks in? Now, if we push up and we close above 40-71.70, right, on SPX spot, and again, these close at 4 p.m. I'm okay with that. If we close above it, then I'll say, okay, we might even get a pullback back down to like the 4K range. But at that point, it's going to act as support, and I'll be bullish, right? I'm just not there yet. I mean, yeah, we got the close above the 200-day. If you look at SPY, we can look at SPY here, and you know what? Let's look at SPY on a different. Let's look at SPY on this one where I haven't charted anything. So SPY on a weekly, right? Very, very similar. This is the same type of setup here. So, look where we are on this. Actually, what? I think on SPX 500 USD, it's actually not even different. I don't know why I was saying that, because I don't know if this answers your question, Danny, but it is. I mean, it's the general question, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm fucking not even thinking here. We were talking about daily supply before. Yeah, weekly supply, we're not even inside of on the SPX. Or no, we are, right. Jesus Christ. This candle, this is what fucked me up the other day, talking about, that doesn't matter, but talking about the futures, because the ES is different than the Owanda when it comes to what candle closed, right? So on the Owanda chart, we're inside of this candle here, the September 6th weekly candle. But if you see how this actually closed above it, so it just gives us a new level technicals wise. But again, you gotta remember these candles close at 4 p.m. The futures close at 5 p.m. So it ends up not really mattering. The signals look the same. when you look back and back test the zone. So yeah, anyways, this is what I mean, this matters. Like we've rejected the last 2 weeks. And now we are pushing up in, but it is, the fake out is still very much intact. So I think that it could easily be a fake out. I'm still bearish. There'll be plenty of time to be bullish. I mean, look, if we push up, we get a close above, right? Let's say we close up around 410 even. Let's just say that, right? We close at 410 for the week, right? We get into next week. We have some earnings. Maybe it pushes us up. We tag this weekly supply. This is the next one, and this is really the main one. And this will, and again, this is very similar when you look at this chart here, and we're talking about the main supply here, right? This one up here that I was saying at 41.38. This here is at 415 for what it's worth on SPY. If, let's say we close at 410 though, right? Maybe we push up, we tag this, we drop down. By that point, if we get back to 400 or 4K, or you could even say like 398, basically the bottom of this weekly zone, at that point, I'll look for support, because the risk to reward at that point is that this is that we're going to bounce, right? At this point though, we haven't, I don't know, we're not, I'm not shorting it right off the bat. Now with longer term, my fear for shorting it and just holding it in a swing overnight, any large position, is that I know what it can do intraday. I know that we can see it run all the way up, even with SPY, it could run all the way up to 406, 407, 410. I mean, and still reject right before the end of the week. So it's definitely possible. So yeah, I'd rather get a better entry. So I'm not grabbing anything major yet this week. But anyways, yeah, I mean, yeah, we got to close above the trend line, but in my opinion, that doesn't mean shit until we, horizontal levels rule everything, which is why I've been saying for a little bit that 40.25 is 40.25 is what I'm looking for. Yeah, not good, man. So over 40.25, a close, of some sort. I mean, I thought maybe we were going to get it today, but we did pull back pretty quickly. We made, obviously, price pushed all the way up to 40.36, 40.40 probably on SPX. But again, it doesn't really matter the way that the zones interact. I look at these, and you can see how we're consolidating inside of this. So, if we start to move north of this, we can talk about that as it trends. But yeah, just keep in mind you got the Fed. I honestly, if for long-term shit, if you didn't buy way down here, and I'm sure people are making decent gains, but for anything that you plan to hold, through the next 6 to 12 months or more, I have no interest in buying any of that shit, right? To the long side until I see what the Fed's going to do. So, and I recommend that for everybody, that they, see what the Fed says this time around. There's a lot of theories on what the Fed is going to do. And I'm not even saying a pivot or anything. I just want to hear what they have to say as far as interest rates raising. Everybody's set on 25 basis points. That's fine and dandy, but until I see it, it's I don't know, there's always mixed shit coming back and forth. I don't trust the Fed at all. So anyways, guys, hopefully that was good. If you have anything else, speak up now or forever hold your peace. Right, I think that's how it goes. Keep in mind, right, we have the 4-hour supply here. We did close, we got a 4-hour close underneath it, well, 2 of them, and it'll be interesting to see where we get some 4-hour closes and where price is at when we wake up in relationship to this 40.24 to 40.14 zone. So same with the NASDAQ, right? We want to see, keep in mind, the NASDAQ is at its expected move, the first deviation. So wouldn't surprise me to see tech cool off a little bit. Yeah, keep that in mind. So, and yeah, we'll talk in the morning, guys. Hopefully everybody has a good night. And if you have any questions, post them, of course. And I'll get this set up and the recording put out there in case anybody wants to go back and if they missed anything. So, all right, guys, take care.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.